So welcome, Rosette. Have we got sound yet from Switzerland? Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you. Rosette, can you hear? Not quite. Still sorting out the contact. Yeah.
I'm just trying to find that, and I'll read it out to see if I find it.
All right. Okay. Yeah. While we're waiting. Aha. Welcome.
Okay, I have some problem.
Welcome.
Did you hear me?
We can hear you now. Yes.
I had some real problem with it.
You're moving around a bit.
Yeah, okay. I think that's it. Okay.
So welcome back.
Thank you.
So Margarita, we're just going to read something that's relevant for our last week's meeting. So can you find it, Margarita?
Yeah, I can. I'm just nearly there.
All right.
And I know I better let you carry on because I'll see, it's very hard sometimes to find the GOE.
Oh, later then, yeah, or maybe at the end or something.
I'll do it. Yeah.
So I'm very happy to be here right now in our third session, and last week, Rosette, did you catch up with our sessions?
No, I didn't. I had absolutely no time. I was away this week, so I will tonight.
Okay. So, well, why I thought this week we would do a bit more to finish off where we got to last week, even if we didn't do anything in between. So it will be a kind of opportunity to kind of look at this movement from your side, Rosette, and for us to go a bit further if we can. So did anybody do anything else in between from last week? Peter, did you work with that energy you were working on any further, or you're still kind of where you left off?
No, it's like it has disappeared. Like this hard thing that I had, and that at least not right now. It's kind of disappeared for now, and I'm better. Like I'm like somehow more feel more healthy in some way.
Yeah. So, and Margarita, in terms of last week, what you did a big shift, an evolution for yourself. Is there further consequences?
Yes. Well, the consequences is that like all that I've been feeling inside, it kind of, if you like, I was overwhelmed last week, and I've been for the past couple of weeks. Whole mixture of feelings, because there are a lot of heels to that story, and I feel much stronger, much more loving towards, I found myself, what I found myself doing this week was, in the past, when I was younger, I used to pray for all my brothers and my sister and their families. I pray for each family, you know, each family unit. What I found myself doing was sending love right through, like the ancestry and the family of everybody in my family, and kind of allowing it all to radiate out. And especially where they'd be like, because in every family, you know, there can be differences in from time to time, things that happen. And so, and I even felt that the way I felt about my niece's husband's family, I was a lot less kind of more happier and more loving in my feelings towards them.
Mhm.
And her husband and two boys, but they've been there all the time. And like he is as well, because, you know, we all have our feelings in our families about certain things, which without need to go into them. But I feel that what was opened up for me last week, the power of what I felt was the reality of what I felt. And I've written about that. I don't mind sharing that with people because it was so powerful. I didn't actually say on the GOE what it was, but like it was when you look at it, I'll just tell her briefly. When you look at last week's, you know, my niece died tragically about 3 months tomorrow, and she has 2 children, and she was only 46 on the 30th, and I was really grieving, and I was very overwhelmed by grief. But the week before, I had entrusted her to Jesus with all that she was and is and everything, and I felt that he took care of her. I really felt it. But then I was still overwhelmed. My aspect was overwhelmed. And then Sandra asked us, what are the other aspects behind that one big aspect? And when she did, all mine queued up behind it. And the next thing was, I felt, I don't mind saying it because to me, it's there for all of us if we want. I felt the face of Christ come close up to mine. And I felt he kissed me on the cheek and said, don't be worried, she's safe home. And I must say, like at that moment, all that I felt melted. It was like, you know, snow melting in the sun. It all melted away inside me. And my feelings this week are so much stronger. I feel like in many ways I felt very alone because, you know, there's no human being can ever give us comfort anyway when something happens. That's beyond our expectations or anything. And even like with my community, like certain situations, people are very nervous about talking. And actually in my Facebook page, I've written openly about it, because not about my niece now or anything, but written about the subject, because people are not talking, and many people are suffering in silence. And like if we feel that people around us are loving and open, then, you know, it's going to help people to open up and share what's going on with them.
Yeah, I agree about that, actually. That's a kind of reflection on, you know, what I was just saying to you before, if you don't mind me saying, Margarita. You know, I was talking to somebody this afternoon who was offering to help, and but the energy from which they were offering made me feel bad that I was needing help, and I didn't feel the compassion, softness that allowed me to be able to engage with them and enter into a relationship to evolve with them. So, and that's just what you're saying, Margarita, is feel there's a loving kind of receptive place. to be
In
able
fact, actually, in my home place, everybody knew she died,
Mm.
and they were all talking, but nobody spoke to the family and said, you had a bereavement.
Mm.
And I mean, I say it's just because people don't talk. And I put an article in my Facebook, and I mean, people from my own home place read that as well.
Yeah.
And I put it in because my sister-in-law told me, she said there was another funeral that we all, of the person that we all knew, and he was 90 years of age, but he was a neighbor. And she said that nobody actually said anything to her. And she was quite shocked by it, that she knew they knew, but they never said a word.
Interesting.
My niece has 2 boys, and the eldest one is autistic.
Mm.
And he's very, very, I think he's actually very bright, but very, very active.
Mm.
And I think she was absolutely worn down to a thread.
Mm.
And she wasn't telling anybody about what was going on in her, because maybe she felt she couldn't, or that if she told people that they expecting her to be okay. And I think that was happening a little bit around her. And anyway, because she said to me several times, and Sandra was very good to her. She helped her a lot. She said to me that Sandra was brilliant when she spoke to her. But she said to me, I can't cope with the pain anymore. I know this will be going privately because I don't want to start said generally. You know what I mean? I haven't told everybody. So, I mean, I'd prefer if it's just us that see it.
Yeah.
Or else, if you can cut it out. But like, all I'm saying is this, that for me, what got transformed for me is compassion for people then. People that can't talk. And I actually wrote on my Facebook then about the need for us to talk.
Yeah.
And I said a thing like, look into your own heart and see, how's your heart today? Because if we don't pay attention to our spirit, then how can we know and we have any sense of what another person might be feeling? And, and then I spoke about our group and how it, for me, this group has been a lifesaver, to be totally honest. And I won't talk anymore now after that.
Thank you, Margarita. So it's good that there's been an evolution for you, and also that it's inspired something to share as well, to kind of touch others as well in some way. So thanks for writing about it. Yeah. So let's just kind of come back in the journey that we were making. In compassion, we started with the self-compassion in the first session, and whether that was in the now or whether to our aspects. And last week, Rosette, we particularly focused on our aspect and chose a particular aspect who we wanted to look at and to grow our relationship of compassion with our aspect. And so in my case, I had this aspect who was the previous week effing, swearing, because of the rage that she's been provoked into feeling that was there inside her. And I don't normally swear. So I kind of, I did a big healing for myself in my love and compassion for what the aspect was experiencing at that time. However, we didn't go where I wanted to go, where Margarita went, and I don't know if Dita had a chance to go, is once we got to the place of feeling the love and compassion for the aspect in this moment, was then to consider, well, what happened to bring them to that moment to be able to respond and react and feel that the way that they were feeling, to kind of go back in the timeline and look at the previous aspects. And I didn't get a chance to do that. And there's still work for me to do to kind of go through this process and get the learnings that I think are there for me. So if you feel, Margarita and Dita, that work is kind of completed for you, then, by all means choose another aspect. But if you want to go back, I think, you know, it's going to, remember when we did the, you know, the compassion above zero, you know, when we got to, they weren't hurting anymore, and we carried on with the compassion, and that like brought something really new. You know, it's like going to somewhere new that you've not been before. So if even if you kind of feel you've worked to a degree in that, it may be worth to go back and look at a little bit more deeply to see, to learn or understand something. So, so Rosette, for you, if you want to choose an aspect that needs compassion and didn't have it for, and the first in connecting with the aspect would be, what's the aspect feeling? Where do I feel it in my body? Soften and flow and heal our own inability to be love in front of that aspect first. And then we can go from there back in time a bit to say, well, what brought them to that place to be feeling that or responding that way in that moment. And let's see then, as we go back, either as a group to the aspects or to visit them one by one, what happened to that aspect? How were they feeling when that happened? And where do I feel that aspect's feeling in my body to soften and flow? And see how you know, where that brings you in yourself, in your relationship with yourself, basically, a deeper healing of your relationship with yourself, and what, you know, what happens, what changes, how does the aspect appear to change, and what do we learn about that? Is that a kind of a direction clear, Rosette, for you to explore? Yeah.
Okay. I will look for that.
And Dita, does that still have relevance for your exploration last time, or?
Like I just, when you were talking, I tried to find that aspect, and I didn't quite. I couldn't really find this aspect because, like, something has changed in between, and like some practical problem that was there at that time, and like this. I remember that this aspect was really hard, like really kind of urgent.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that I don't know what that was about. I can't.
You remember you saying it was from some way far back.
Yeah, something. I remember that, but I cannot
remember what it was. Yeah. Okay. So it might be, well, if you wanted to get to it, you could, you know, what triggered it was something that happened, a situation, wasn't it? But you said there was a situation that triggered it. So if it doesn't feel, you know, that's calling you to look at it, then choose something else. But I think there's a value in just going further with something to kind of go to learn in places we haven't yet gone. So that's the only, you know, thing that might be interesting to look at.
Well, what I know is like this general attitude that this aspect had, and this kind of immovable, stubborn, hard-heartedness. That is, as an attitude, something that is familiar to me, and I was surprised that this was coming up in this clear-cut way. But I could do something with that from a bit further away, even though I don't get to the context
Yeah.
That,
So it may, the context, you know, more details may come up as you connect with it. So if you think then that aspect was triggered into being stubborn and hard in that circumstance, you connect to that aspect in the stubborn, hard state that they're in. And where do I feel the aspects feeling in my body? And then to allow that to soften and to flow and see that, and then see what that brings up along the way. It might lead you back to some previous aspects. So does that feel that would be interesting, relevant for you?
yeah, I can see something of it, like a shadow or like an echo of that or something.
Yeah.
Like
And if there's already evolution, again, going to what's remaining of it to see where we can go from there. Because there's also, again, sense that Margarita pointed out in the first session, compassion is feeling with passion, is feeling whatever it is. So even if the aspect evolves, we can still have compassion for their evolved state and discover what that means. That may mean something we never discovered yet. So, okay, so choose your aspect that you'd like to explore compassion for. And take a moment just to locate the aspect in space and time. And the circumstance of the aspect. And how they were feeling in those circumstances. And as you connect to the aspect, where do you feel their feeling in your body? So as I now connect with mine, she's evolved a lot since then. So it's a very different place that she's in, but there's a chance for me to explore further now. So, and when you feel it in your body, then to allow it, shine some love on it, let it soften and flow. So should we make a pause and just see where we're at? I did quite a lot of journeying there, so anyone want to share? I'll just start off actually. So I went back to my aspect who was no longer enraged by what was triggered that previous time, which was all of her anger along the journey, the lack of action and care from people along the way. And so she is much more in acceptance, allowance of all of that, which is very good. So that even where do I feel the aspects, acceptance and allowance of that in my body, I kind of connected with that. I was feeling really good. And then there's more specific people that she still had anger for, which was her family, my family, lovely family. And so I took some time to tune into her still some anger and unforgiveness towards her family. Where did I feel that in my body to soften and flow? And then after that, what came up, you know, more details came up. It was not only what they did, but the consequences of what they did on, and the anger about that and the hurt about that. And where did I feel that in my body? I felt that. I let some softening flowing. So I observing that the aspects evolving, you know, as I'm doing my, where do I feel the aspects feeling in my body, soften and flow, the aspects evolving. And as I'm going into more love and feeling of compassion for my aspect, I don't know if it's completely finished yet, especially on the last part, you know, the consequences of the actions on other people. And I think there's a little bit more to do, but I can see the progression and the opportunity of saying, you know, what else is the aspect feeling? What else is the aspect feeling? Soften and flow, and like, you know, new depths of those feelings, where they're coming from, arise. And so it's like more cleaning in myself. And the pattern that we're looking at here, or what I'm looking at here, should transfer across when we start to look at other people's aspects. So the pattern we've got that we're working with for our own aspects is the same pattern that transfers over when we look at somebody else, because it's just the entity that we're looking at, the relationship with the entity. So I'm in the journeying further there, which feels really good. I've still got a little bit more to go about that I'd like to do. But how about you, Zita?
I found the aspect. And actually all the context came back. And actually something has moved, like on the practical side, something has moved, you know, which I wasn't aware, like some things like just moved without me even thinking about it. And it was easy. At like that causative level with this aspect. It's still there, but now I can see the aspect. I couldn't even see the aspect. I could only feel this attitude on a physical level, like that, this hardened kind of, like it could be felt. There's an emotion behind it, but actually, it on the outside is just like some kind of thing, like a resistance and holding, like not giving in and like going against being forced to something, and people trying to break you or something like that. This kind of, and it's like an aspect way back, like childhood or like a long time ago. And but that has ripple effects, like structural. And the good thing is, like, I could almost get to a point where I could hear the aspect say something, you know, like, but they're still closed. They don't say anything because that is also belongs to this not giving in. Like as soon as he talks about it, they will do something and try to force you in some other way, manipulate you, like you just have to be a stone or something.
So it's good to really locate the original aspect then. Like the original aspect.
It's not like really an event, but I could kind of locate them in some like
place,
region.
So did you do like, where do I feel the aspects, stubborn stone?
Yeah. I felt it was the same place, like it's stomach, like this stomach area. And I tried to, it wasn't so easy, like it was moving more. It wasn't this kind of gamma radiation, hard kind of this nuclear power thing, like it was more kind of shifting a bit more. There was a
Okay.
bit more flexibility in that.
Yeah. So what do you feel? Do you feel there's more to evolve there in you to kind of discover what's beyond that?
No, because like that's some kind of big, stubborn, like someone trying to force you in a certain direction, and like this against this kind of overpowering force, and you think like it's some kind of self-defense
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. So where so is there some healing further to do to explore on that, or is it you want to leave it as where it's at, or what's it feel like?
It would be good to evolve that more because it's an important um, thing, you know. Like I feel it's like it's structural inside of me, like it's a very core thing.
Yeah. So a little bit more to see what's beyond even it's moving, to get into more movement so that you brings you into love and compassion feeling for the aspect when you
Yeah,
heal
like
that in
hearing
yourself.
more,
Yeah.
being able to hear this more, like, and not just having this kind of anorganic effect or something, you know, like
Yeah.
getting towards more humor.
Yeah. And then what'd be interesting is after you got through that is there a place beyond that? You know, like a kind of grows and expands in some level in that, you know, so
Yeah.
is there another place by looking at how does the aspect evolve once you healed that
Yeah,
to
because this is I think this is like a region where there's like a lack of development, you know, like there's like some kind of underdeveloped area.
yeah, so that would be good to do a bit further. Okay, so Rosette, how did you get on there? Did you find an aspect that you wanted to explore with and heal your relationship with?
Well, I had trouble finding one. Well, I thought, when did I need compassion? And I really felt I didn't get it, or I didn't give it to myself, and so on. And the emotion I relate mostly to is maybe fear, not an anguish, you know, but fear, fear for people I love when they go in car and so on. And then I thought, where did that come from? And was there an aspect that was not given compassion? Then I let it go back, and I found the time when I really was afraid, and it was in the 60s. I was in the United States. I didn't have the right visa, but I was already a nurse. So I worked in a maximum security ward, and I worked at night because I had my studies during the day. And I really, really was very often in fear because it was a mixed population. People were using a slang that I didn't always understand. Anyway, but it was the only thing to do because otherwise I couldn't stay. So later on I had the proper visa, but that time it was extremely difficult. And then I found this aspect at that time, and people would say around me, oh, that's very courageous, you know, but never something like, oh my God, must be difficult. No. So I decided I will send love and compassion to this aspect, and maybe by echo, it will do something now.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I tried that, and then I thought, where do I get where is it in my body? And it's the solar plexus a little
Mhm.
bit, you know, like it cuts the breathing,
Mhm.
because I really was afraid sometimes.
Mhm.
And it's curing a little bit, or you know, it's yeah, it's softening a little bit this aspect, and maybe it's a good direction. I guess I will go back in that direction.
Mm. So there's two ways. So what you do, you send love and compassion to the
Yeah,
aspect. So
yeah,
and then so another way to work, there's kind of two ways, is to say, well, what's the aspect feeling as I connect with that fear? What do I
yeah.
feel in my body as I connect with the fear, soften
Hmm.
and flow? And where do I feel her fear for whatever the
Now,
fear was about in my body and soften and flow? So, and that's, it's actually is a different movement than the just sending love and compassion, is what is actually it's a different way to reach the same place, maybe, but a
yeah,
different. So anyway,
I
so
was, yeah.
you could work both, explore both ways,
Hmm.
and there's a little bit more to do there. And Margarita, did you get a chance to go a bit further with your aspects? Because we're still on our own aspects here, not other people's aspects. So, because we're going to go to other people's aspects next week. Okay. And you're muted.
Yes, aspect. I'm not going to anybody else's aspect, Sandra.
Right.
Sandra, I went back to the aspect of me that first heard the news just a month
Yeah.
ago tomorrow.
Yeah.
And the way that I felt, it was like indescribable.
Yeah.
I just couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And I got a phone call at about 4:30 on a Friday evening. And I um, I went back to Facebook to the image that a lot of people have liked. And I think you'll appreciate it too, Sandra. When someone is going through a rough time,
Yes.
just sit with them. No preaching, no advice, just be there. And I thought that was something for me myself, but also for me listening to my own aspect, because I was I really expressed my distress
Yeah.
very loudly, I'm afraid. And the poor woman at the other end of the line, God help her, she didn't stand it. And I then thought, what I've done today is I sat with that.
I can hear,
Yeah,
cannot hear you.
Microphone we need, yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking through this because I can't stand it on my head today. I'm not feeling the best today. I think I have a bit of a cold.
Mm.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I went back. I went back to the child aspect of me. That was 4 months when my brother of 4 years old died, and that it's just because I heard my mother talking one time about how she felt about the baby, and the baby, of course, was me, but I didn't know when she was telling that story. When she was talking about, realized it was me she was talking about. That that she couldn't look at the baby at all because, of course, she had lost her eldest son, and I went back to that aspect, to the little baby aspect, and I just stayed, like I said, when you're feeling rough, just sit with. And I kind of took that child in my arms, that aspect really, and the child aspect, and just stayed looking at her and loving her, because she was on her own then, in a way, because everybody else was so occupied. and she was on her own, because there were a lot of things were told about me as a young child that it can only be explained that because there were people grieving. My aspect didn't make much noise because she didn't want to upset anyone.
Yeah.
And I think she has expressed my grief very strongly when I got the news of my niece's death. But I will read out to you what I put on my Facebook, because I was really saying it for myself as well. I mean, I actually like it very much. If I can find it now, yes, I can. When someone is going through a rough time, just sit with them. No preaching, no advice, just be there. And the image around that is a dog with a big, one of those things when a dog is in pain,
like a cone to stop them scratching at themselves, like a cone around the neck. Yeah.
And sitting inside in it at the corner with her head against the dog's face is a little kitten, and her paws up against the dog's face. And she's just there, she's crouching in, and that's inside in the little thing, and that's around the dog. And I think it's such a gorgeous, tender picture.
Yeah.
And I mean, to me, like, that's what I feel my aspects anyway need to be for my own, for myself and for other people too, because like the danger is always I want to fix it for somebody, but in a way sometimes somebody's aspect just needs you to be there lovingly with them. And that's what I was with my child aspect, really, for a good part of the time, because the aspect that I think that aspect has been healed quite a lot through everything else. The aspect that I heard about my niece, but I think my child aspect, because I was kind of thrown back to my child aspect when having compassion on her, because like she's there 4 months old, and like there's a baby died, or a little boy died, and everybody else is so preoccupied there, emotionless, both and every other way. And also to have, by having compassion for her, I feel I'm healing something in my own history as well. Something that I have, felt for a long time. I don't know who I said it to. Was it the two of you I said it to? When I was a child, I was always looking for my mother's eyes, and like she had 8 of us, and on a Sunday morning when she sat down to relax a bit, I would go around her chair and keep peering up into her face. I wanted to see her eyes. Eyes, of course, are very important to me. The seeing a person's eyes, and I'm thinking like that maybe my little aspect wants somebody's eyes to be there, love,
attention,
attention, and just looking at them, but not saying anything, but just holding them, because of course that's a very powerful form of love. Is somebody who sits with you just as you are, and doesn't ask anything of you, not even to, and funny enough, I was telling somebody earlier on, when I looked at some of the texts that I wrote to my niece when she was talking to me, several weeks before she died, I noticed that I was wanting to fix her in the way I was talking to her, and like she wasn't there at all, the poor thing. And but I was so anxious about her because I felt her fragility, and so I was trying to fix it. That's what I felt about myself. And so what I did tonight was for my aspect, but also for my own, for the aspect of me that that has compassion. That the compassion is very often just being there, listening really to what's going on. I mean, it's a bit like, I'm sure it's a bit like you do, Sandra, when you tell us about the movement of our energy. But yeah, I think that's what, again, it was very good. It wasn't as powerful as the last experience, but it was still very powerful for me to go back to that child aspect, because I've done other things, but I haven't done anything about having compassion.
That child aspect whose, you know, attention was removed from the baby aspect, while obviously naturally attention is all on the subject of her older brother dying. So what to actually connect with what that baby aspect would have been feeling, not consciously, but the emotional experience that the baby would have been feeling, to be like not know why or not understand, but suddenly attention is removed from them. What would that make them feel? And then where do you feel that feeling in your body?
I feel it very well, Sandra, because I have felt it even in my adult life. I have felt it quite often. And I began, I mean, as I got older, I began to connect it with that experience in myself. And but like, it was a lovely thing for me today to go back and hold the child aspect and just hold her, love her, and be with her. Because like part of our story, every part of every aspect, there's several different threads going through it. Like you know, it isn't that you're looking for trauma all the time, but it's how you can grow through, how I can grow through the different aspects of, you know, I've looked at that before, because I actually, you know, I was bereaved other times. I've had the opportunity to look at that aspect, but like today it was different. Just and it was good for me because it formed me in that quiet listening as well.
And having done that, spent that time with the aspect, how does the baby aspect feel now? So the other thing is to look at, well, as we heal ourselves, as we witness, you know, where the pain is somewhere else, and we heal ourselves in witness to that, how does that change the place where the pain was? Does that evolve?
Well, yeah, because
so is it change the one that we're witnessing?
Well, it has, yeah, because she's no longer going around anybody's chair looking up into their eyes for attention. And I even found, I didn't even find, and I hadn't done that time. I was with my community last night, and you know, they had in November, like the church always has a mass, a special mass for people who have died or lost somebody during the year. And in our church, they put all red candles up along by the tabernacle. It's lovely, and I put up a candle for her as well. But what I'm going to say is that in my community then last night, they had nothing like that. They just had the celebration of the Eucharist, and it was lovely. But you know, there was something for me missing, but it didn't bother me. They never even said to me last night, because I know why they didn't, because I think they were afraid of my talk. Because if I start, I mightn't be able to stop. But anyway, because there were others there as well. And so they didn't say anything, but I'm seeing them again tomorrow night anyway. But it didn't bother me. Whereas in the past, you know, the lack of attention would have bothered me. And you know, the fact that, because in our congregation we're so small, that if anything happens in anybody's family, like we all connect with each other, you know, to just give support. And some are better than others, shall we say, at it. And so, but what I'm saying is like that I was no longer looking for attention on me in the grief. Yeah, I think that was it. Like the only image I have is looking around my mother's chair to see if I could catch her eye.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks. So that's interesting to discover those aspects and to, you know, what they're feeling. And what you did, you brought love, you know, the kind of energy of love and attention there, which is what you do in Rosette. And that is a one completely valid direction, just to bring the energy there, which is what the last 8 weeks was about. So the other direction to explore, and we can make conclusions about it later once it's explored, is what is the feeling that aspect is feeling, experiencing, and where do we feel that in our body, which is what part of us is not able to be love in the presence of that, to heal that. And so we can kind of grow, like expand and deepen, widen and deepen our channel to be more love, more in front of more things, basically. So let's see how we're doing. Have we got kind of attention to do a few more minutes for ourselves, or we kind of feel comfortable with what we've done? Would you like a few more minutes just to go back in and take it a little bit further in your exploration? Let's say 5 minutes. Is that valuable?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, so let's kind of go back to the aspect that maybe still has some feeling that could benefit from more compassion. But let's explore it from the direction of what's the aspect feeling, and where do I feel that in my body, and heal that in yourself. And then
Okay.
what heals, what grows in you, and what evolves in the aspect. So it's a different direction from what you might have just done before. So let's go back and locate the aspect first. Time and space and place and circumstances. And maybe things have evolved a bit already. So what's remaining of the feeling for that aspect? So the final further movements on that people share. That
I went back again farther, and I found some other things, and it connects always to this same place. So I put some energy on it and love on it, so it would go away. And I think it's working, because in fact I found some more fear before that. That's something to explore, because I was a little girl during the war, and it came back, some of the situations, and probably I have to do something about it too, because I can see that it has been going on all along. You know, I was always able to control it, but to take care of it.
So, so a little bit further, but you've gone deeper, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what about your feeling, the development of your feeling towards the aspect with the fear? How's that?
I have a lot of compassion, and I was kind of talking to it, you know, saying the stuff I would have liked to hear, and I didn't have. Yeah, that's helping. It's interesting.
Yeah, and the aspect evolving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if maybe I can get rid of the echo along the way, if I really take care of that.
Yeah.
So I have.
And that's what I
it comes easily, like slices, you know, in a sandwich, you know, where you have several slices. Yeah.
That you know, doing the completion, you're doing completely enough, you know, to make a change. Well, I went back to this aspect, and it felt, and I hadn't felt it before actually until this place I reached the depth of, and it was like she had a scream in her body about what happened. And after I softened and flowed, that was in my face, and took a while to go down my body. And then there was the heartbreak to heal, and then there was the sadness, and then kind of okay, neutral kind of place, not knowing what to be or do what to do. And then there was a growing of like power growing, you know, in that. And so I think there's some more to do about that empowerment of the aspect for that. which is worth doing. Not like, okay, the pain's gone, but the empowerment is worthy of debating further. And then the same movement, which we point out, compassion, is whatever state of passion we're in. So whether it's hurting or it's flowing. So the same sense of, well, where do I feel her growing power in my body? Soften and flow.
Yeah.
And kind of you do the same movement for that. That was quite interesting.
Yeah.
To do that. Yeah. So, Dita, did you go any further?
Yes. I listened some more to this aspect. And at some point, there was like it's the kid aspect, and there was this things with his mother coming up, like the things that were missing, like connection and like some basics, and then also things like the fury, the rage, when the mother was like putting her like upon the aspect who was like struggling with something, and his mother was putting her worry on the aspect as well. Like the people are like their helpers try to help with their shitty worries. Yeah, they should be gone. And like that, like this the rage, this endless crap about this. That I listen, and like people don't know what help is actually.
How has the aspect evolved, and how have your feeling towards your aspect? So obviously you've got much more.
No, I could accept that. I could accept that. I felt compassion towards the aspect, like.
And in the growing of the compassion, anything evolved for the aspect? Do you notice anything?
Yeah, like it got more into motion, and you could see very clearly all the things that were missing and what the pain was about.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, and then of course there's the other people's aspect, the mother.
Yeah, we'll start to go to the other people's aspects next time now, because we've wanted to get the structure, have our own experience and evolution and learning, but to kind of look at the structure and to examine it, the both directions that we can do. So whilst in the one way, when we look at the aspect, we're kind of externalizing parts of ourself, but it's helping us to connect with that moment in time and the feelings going on in the aspect. And then when we say, okay, so as we connect with that, we may get some resistance, and which we heal. And then where do we feel that in the body? We heal that until we grow in our love for the aspect. But the process of healing is bringing love, is bringing the attention of love energy to the place where our resistance is. So if we were not externalizing the aspect, and we were just saying, where do I feel it when I remember that, we'd be still just shining love on it. So, because it's our aspect, we can do both ways. But when we're looking at other people's aspects, which we can have a look at next time, we've got the same opportunity. So when they are feeling, where do we feel that? Our resistance, soften and flow. And then what brought them to be feeling that? What happened? And where do we feel that in the body? Soften and flow. So then we're growing our compassion, witnessing it more, but it's the same movement as we did for our aspect. Or we could just send energy to the person, shine love on them in the state, and see how that changes them. So we could do both ways. So we're just examining the other direction, which is when you kind of connect with it and feel your own resistance to it and heal that to grow your own channel. So we'll have a look at the perpetrators of our events next time and see what that brings us up for healing and growing our compassion in. But now we've got the pattern that we're working with. Is that helpful to kind of just establish the pattern? And, you know, so
Yeah.
Useful time spent as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting also, like when I got into this like negative stuff, well, like what happened then, like, and all of this, the soup, I felt like it wasn't as bad as I thought. There's like a lot of fearless, like, I'm dealing with this kind of family album.
So, yeah. Okay, well, good. Thanks for sharing and helping us sort of make observations and learn from each other as well. So I hope it's good that it's been helpful evolution. Margarita, do you want to say any final words?
Yeah, well, I would really just to say that I came back again to the aspect that heard the news, and I found myself holding her as well, and that was amazing. That there's a part of us actually can look at the other part and, you know, give that part love, and that if I practice that, how that can help me in situations that, you know, to recover more quickly from anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I found that very helpful to have compassion for the aspect that had heard the news and was really distraught, and her need for love and for compassion.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that I observed in myself as sort of a final point is, you know, the aspect that with the scream that went into heartbreak, that went into sadness, went into kind of a neutral and evolving space, you know, and really where do I feel that and feeling it and feeling the energy moving in me, you know, that's the thing that grows the compassion, is that you felt it. You felt it for the other person. You felt it for not just pain, but you felt it with the movement through you. Then you can be really compassionate in feeling, not just words, feeling for that other person. So once we've done it for ourselves there, we can look at that movement next time.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you very much, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody. Lovely to see you.
Thanks, and good night.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye now.